Evening, BookTube. Welcome to another episode of Jack's Literary Corner. I am Jack, and I thought I would do a current reading, an update on my current reading for today. For this last few days. So, as I've said in the previous video, I am working on my next book for Medieval-a-thon. And I have two books that I'm reading for. I am almost done with this book, and I think I like this one better than The Last Wish. It's definitely more coherent and more easier to follow and to get into. Granted, there are certain situations where sometimes I wonder if it's just when it was not a good time for me to be reading those books. Like, I feel like that's potentially happened with Sword of Truth, the first book, Wizard's First Rule. Of course, now I'm even less inclined to get into that. Well, I mean, of course, at the time when I was reading it, was like, it's okay, it's entertaining, but it's not like, wow. But again, like I said, it might have been just because I was getting up like 4 a.m. in the morning to go to the internship. But I've heard some things about the author, Terry Goodkind, that he's basically an arrogant prick that thinks himself better than all the other fantasy authors. And apparently he doesn't write fantasy, even though he does. So I'm kind of glad I never got into the series Sword of Truth, because then it would be kind of hard, because even though I'm someone who's like, against holding an author's work against them because they've said stupid things. I'm not. I repeat, not condoning some of, because there are things that they say and do that are like, you really believe that? It's unfair, and I'm not condoning just because I like their work, because they are good storytellers. But I get why certain, like, if an author or even an actor or something crosses the line, then fine. I mean, you're entitled to do what you want to do. And I understand that you don't want to give them money, and if you're buying their work, their movies or their books, then you're giving them money, and you don't want to support someone who feels that way about something. But it's frustrating because I am enjoying their books. I enjoy this world, so it's like, if I'm already into it, so I'm supposed to walk away from a good story just because they've said something stupid or, sexist or racist or something? And no, again, I repeat, I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's okay. And there are ways I could buy cheaper copies. I could get it from the library. So there are ways around it. But anyway, enough of ranting about that. So, like I said, I definitely like this one better than the other one. And and it's definitely more coherent and easier to follow. It's the same kind of thing where we're getting to know Geralt some more, introducing him, getting more of his adventures, and meeting and getting to know some of the relationships, like with Dandelion and Yennefer. They're in this one, of course. And I don't know if any other characters that were introduced into this collection will be coming in the actual series of books. But I definitely recommend reading these two first if it's your first time. The Last Wish and this one. Because it will help you get to know the world and get to know the characters. And it's definitely it's definitely one of those series where it's like, they expect you to know what the fantasy creatures are that are mentioned. I mean, some of them, yeah, there are obvious ones, like mermaids and, but there are some that I've never heard of. Striga, I think that's how you say it. And then there's this one creature he fights, is like Zulg or Zulug. I don't know how to say it, but it kind of reminded me of like an octopus or something, or a squid. I think it was like supposed to be like a squid-like creature. But and it's really, and I know like, I know that Elliot Brooks herself had mentioned that not everybody loves Dondalia, but I personally love him. Yes, he's a pig, and he's a bit sexist, but, I mean, he's kind of likable and kind of charming. In detail, he's a good guy. He can be just a bit of a ladies' man, you know? And a bit of a charmer. And considering that this world is kind of an medieval type world, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, back then, there were a lot of sexist ways of viewing women. Now, the writing, of course, now that Elliot Brooks herself has pointed out that the writing is very different. Like, I didn't notice it. I mean, I was told that, but when I watched Last Wish, I was not thinking about that. I was just thinking about the stories themselves. But I was, now that after watching again some more of Elliot Brooks talking about this series, and she pointed out, I think it was her, it might have been Murphy Napier. I don't know, one of them was talking about, yeah, the writing style is really different. Like, what we would consider improper grammar is, like, in Poland, is, they think it's great. They don't have a problem with it. They think it's good. It's good writing. Like, there's some run-on sentences in here that I've noticed. And I talked about this already in the previous video. But anyway, so I'm really liking these. There's really only one story that I'm kind of like, about, and that's Shard of Ice. I mean, although it was funny, the two guys fighting over Yennefer. Geralt and the other guy fighting over her. That was kind of amusing. But I like the first story, which is the one that introduces the dragon. They find a gold dragon, the Bounds of Reason. Like, Geralt was all like, there's no such thing as gold dragons, it's a myth. And then they actually see a gold dragon. And then I just read the Eternal Flame. I like the creature in that one. I'm trying to think. He reminded me of another creature. I mean, there was the chameleon the chameleon demon in Charmed during season 4. I liked him. Oh, you know, he reminds me of there's shapeshifters. It kind of reminds me of some of the shapeshifters, like in Supernatural and stuff. There is one specific one. I don't know if it was that show or some other one, but he's like a very interesting. He has a personality, and this creature. I don't remember what exactly it's called, but basically it's kind of a shape. It is a shapeshifter, just under a different name, and it takes over this guy who's a halfling. Which I wonder if that means he's a hobbit, or he's like a hobbit, like from Tolkien's. But they call him a halfling. He takes over this halfling's body who, it turns out he's really got an eye for business and negotiating and all that kind of stuff. But, it was really funny, and he was kind of messing with the guy, the halfling, he took over the halfling's job and was doing really well. It's actually one of the funnier ones in this collection. And then there's, although the next one, A Little Sacrifice, the one I'm currently reading is really fun. It's kind of funny too. It's like this dude, he's in this town with Dandelion, and this duke has a thing for a mermaid, and they've been seeing each other all the time, and he's like, I want you to come on land and become my wife. And she's like, not having it. He's like, there's no way you come here. And yes, literally the Duke guy cannot survive underwater. He's human, he's mortal, he can't do that. And Carol's trying to explain that to her. Meanwhile, he's trying to explain to the Duke that, no, like, this woman, this mermaid is not going to cooperate with you. She's not going to be willing. And he's just an interpreter. He's just interpreting what they say and trying to explain to them what the other is saying and how adamant the other is to not changing their mind. It's kind of funny. And then, and of course, this arrogant Duke is set. Like, later in the story, he tells Geralt, if you hadn't showed up in the first place, then things would have been fine. She would have, And it's like, no, I'm pretty sure that girl, even if he hadn't shown up, the mermaid would still be like playing you like a fiddle and still would not be like willing to go with you and be your wife. And I'm wondering, like, they had a mermaid in season 5 of Charmed, the first episode, and the mermaid it's kind of the Little Mermaid story where she goes to the sea hag and is like, I want to be human. She and a guy fall in love, but this guy has to tell her he loves her, so that she can stay human. And if he doesn't, then he has to get the sea hag her immortality. And the sea hag, she's trying to give it to this demon who has this power of electricity and all that kind of stuff. And so it's basically the story of the Little Mermaid, in the style of Charmed. And she has told Phoebe and Paige and Piper that mermaids are cold-blooded. Cold-hearted. So I'm wondering if this woman is cold-hearted. Like, I don't know if that's a common, which it makes sense because they live underwater and they're half fish. And they're cold-blooded, so they would be cold-blooded. So I'm wondering if she's cold-hearted deep down. But there's also this other but he ends up meeting the Duke later when he and Dandelion go to this party that they've been invited to by this rich guy, and the Duke has asked once again for Geralt's help, despite the fact that Geralt failed him last time. But he needs his help because there's this something that's slaughtered. The divers that will get the fish for the town, and so Geralt has to figure out what's going on, and then the Duke has suspicions that maybe it's his Little Mermaid girlfriend getting revenge, or either the Duke or the people feel that way. But then there's also the subplot that I really like, which is, so Dandelion, his old friend, a female troubadour, Essie Davin, is there performing, and her and Geralt are drawn to her, and he kind of likes her. He's attracted to her. And there's kind of a bit of a interesting relationship. And I'm not finished with the story, so I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't know what's going on between him and Essie. But again, this was another thing that I remember Elliot Brooke was talking about. She didn't spoil it for me, but she mentioned the character and the relationship between, but she didn't say anything about in the video what was going to happen between them. Like, I think it was in the World Hoppers video where they were talking about the different fantasy series that they love, which that's a good group, by the way. I finally started watching it. I have been wanting to watch it, but it was also, I knew it was kind of a video, it was live, it was like a vlog, so it was going to be live and, be a really long video. And I don't like, unless I'm really, really, like, in the mood to watching that person, and if I have plenty of time. Like, if I'm going to work in a few hours, then I don't normally like watching those. Because then it's gonna take, it's gonna be a long video, and I don't want to just watch that. I want to watch other videos, or at least get my own reading done. But, so after that one, the one I just started talking about that I haven't finished, there is I believe the title story. Let me see. Yep, Sword of Destiny, the title story, so I don't know what that's going to be about. And then Something More, I believe, is the next one. Is the last story. And then I can finally read Blood of Elves, which actually I think is about elves. So I'm trying to get it done before this coming weekend when we leave for Virginia, so I won't have to take it with me to finish it. Because it's not that it's more of I have so many other books I want to take with me, and I don't want to bring too many. Besides, I probably won't get a lot of reading. Again, I might not get a lot of reading done anyway. I mean, I'll probably get more reading done than when I was on the cruise. But, like, I'll be able to read in the car if we go places. I'll be able to read on the way there, because it's 5 hours, 5-hour trip to Virginia. And then there might at least be a few times when, like, the boys go down for naps or something. Or, like, then, yeah, I'll get some reading done. And like I said, and I think that is part of why I didn't enjoy Last Wish as much, because I read it the last time we were there. and it was just hard to concentrate. And plus, it's not like I get in a second cup of coffee because I don't have a Keurig. You know, sometimes I just get tired because I know I always end up going to bed late. So I'm, like I said, I'm really liking this a lot better. I can't wait to get to Blood of Elves. But I had decided to go ahead and, just in case, I decided to go ahead and read another book that was actually where elves were the focus, because I don't think elves are going to be the focus. I mean, they might be. There's 2 more stories, so they might be in the other 2 one of the other 2 stories, or even both of them. But they do talk about elves. But here's the one that's actually about elves. So I don't know what I can really apply this one to. I don't know if you could apply this to an assassin or not. I mean, it's a loose. You could loosely apply it to it because I don't know if people would call it assassinating if you're killing monsters. And it does have red, but so does Way of Kings. Kings of the Wild, not Way of Kings. I keep saying that. I keep calling it Way of Kings. It's not Way of Kings. It's Kings of the Wild. So I don't know. I'll go through these and figure out which one of these I could apply to each thing. Like I said, I couldn't call it the Assassin book because but The Witcher isn't like an assassin. You know, I mean, it depends on how you look at it because he's killing what is labeled monsters, but those who look like monsters might not see it that way. So I might just count it for the assassin one because I mean the only other assassin books I have are I have what is it? I have Empire of Storms, and there's even less. There's not really any assassin in Throne of Glass series really, and then there's also the Assassin's Quest, but that one's a really long book, so there's no way I'll get it done. Like, I'm trying to pick some books that I'm trying to focus on books that I know I can actually get done. Because I realized that some of the books I chose, like Primary the Orange Tree, for instance, I'm not going to get it done. So, but this one is actually about elves. So, like I said, I finally jumped on down the rabbit hole that is Aria Salvatore in the Forgotten Realms, originally started by this other author whose name escapes me at the moment. Then you know what I'm talking about, and maybe you can share in the comments below the name of the author. I'm trying to think if that actually started the Forgotten Realms, because I don't think it's Aria Salvatore. I think it's someone else. But in this is a story about this young elf, Drizzt. I think I'm saying it right. I don't know. And he is the youngest son, technically the youngest. The one before him gets murdered in the beginning of the book, so he becomes the second son. He is part of a family of dark elves, and they are not Tolkien's elves. These people are savage and brutal and cruel. And Drizzt is not like that. He's nothing like his family. He's a lot more like the weapons master, Zack. I'm just gonna call him Zack. I don't know how to say his whole name, but and Drizzt, it's about his life living there, and like the description implies that he's can he face an inevitable dilemma? Can he live in a world that rejects integrity? Basically, these are people that pride themselves in when you're brutal, and if you fail in your brutality, then you're gonna be their goddess, the Spider Queen, will punish you. But if you succeed in, like, for example, I'm currently reading where one of the houses in this world was just attacked, but the house that attacked the other house had failed. So they were all like, the Spider Queen judges you. And Drizzt is kind of forced to watch these people be punished very brutally. So it's political intrigue. It's It's brutal. It's very brutal. It kind of reminds me of Nevernight in the way, it's a very dark story. But Idris though is a little cinnamon roll in this very dark story. He's such a sweetie, and he's, I really like. I think I'm definitely grow to like his character and getting to know his character. But I've been looking for books like this. I want to read more books about elves, but not just the cutesy elves that bake cookies and make toys, or those beautiful elegant elves of Lord of the Rings. Although I'm starting to, when I hear about the elves of Lord of the Rings and people talking about them in other ways, point out other things that I definitely like. I still love Lord of the Rings elves, but I want to read different stories about different elves, different kinds of elves, because I don't want to just read about the cutesy ones or the really pretty ones, And like, it's so, I always find it so interesting how people, I feel like a lot of times you're intrigued by or interested in the opposite. Like and I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but I know I'm a, sweet cutesy person. Everyone says something because you're so cute, you're so pretty, and that does kind of annoy me. I appreciate the compliments, but it's like, is it all I'm cute, I'm pretty? But I think that's why I like I'm getting more into darker stuff, because it's completely opposite. I remember when I got the orc book, which I ended up getting rid of because I ended up just not getting into it. The saleswomen that were there at the time at the bookstore, they were kind of surprised. And they're like, really, you want to buy this book? Talking about how ugly it is and stuff. But they did get what I meant when I said, when I basically referred to, it's like if the orcs from Lord of the Rings, if it was their story told from their perspective, it would be about them. But anyway, I'm really liking it. There's 3 books in this one. And this is one of those authors that's like the Dragonlance authors, I remember they had like a whole bunch of books, little trilogies, and then there was the overarching plot of this group of characters of 2 generations coming together, and there were all these wars going on. I remember, and it kind of reminded me of Lord of the Rings. Like, there was a half human, half elf character. That kind of reminded me of Aragorn. There was the Elvish princess. There was the Kender, and they were kind of like hobbits, kind of reminding me of hobbits. Not a lot of although now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's not as similar as I thought I remember it being, but I like to rebuy those books, but I want the mass market paperback ones, the ones I used to have. I want to start collecting those again. But I'm just thinking, if I've already read the book, and I happen to want to rebuy it, I'm thinking, but there's so many other I want to rebuy it, but there's all these new other glorified books that I want to get too. Especially because I can't just buy like 10, 20 books. I can't afford that. So, but I am really liking this, and like I said, it applies to the elf prompt, because, the one with the weapons prompt of the bow and arrow, read books about elves, because they're the ones who always use the bow and arrow. Although in this one, they actually use magic. They actually have magic. I think the Lord of the Rings elves have magic, but I mean, like, they actually use magic more often. See, these are short books too, not that long. So, that's nice. And then there's the other one, Exiles, the third one, the second one, and then the third one is, but anyway, where is it? Sojourn. There's 3 books. And then I have some of his other books from the Forgotten Realms series. And then last but not least, yes, this really isn't I don't know how I don't think I can really apply apply this to any of the prompts. I'm just reading it because I want to read it so I can get to the next book in this world. And then is Shadowhunter Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Reese Brennan, Maureen Johnson, and Robin Wasserman. Yes, I still love her books. I still have fun in this world. I mean, it has been a while, and I've grown out of it, but I want to come back to it. So I finished Banging Chronicles back in like March or April. I can't remember. But I have fun overall, fun in that world, getting to see Magnus' story, spending time with him, and getting to know knowing the story behind some of the stories he hinted at in the previous series, and learning about his relationship with Camille and Ragnar Fell, and what's that other warlock's name? I can't remember. She's in this collection. I can't remember her name, but anyway. So this is about Simon. This is his story about when he's at the Shadowhunter Academy. If you read The Mortal Instruments, all 6 books, then you know sadly what happens to our poor little Simon, everybody's favorite nerd in the YA universe. That was very sad. That was just too much. But this is about, he is trying to get his life back together and start over and see if he can become a badass Shadowhunter. And it's about his time at the school, and he goes through all the usual, makes that one friend, is loyal no matter what. And then there's the whole, he's bullied all the time, because he's not as cool and badass as the others. And unfortunately, he's also having trouble with Isabel, and because he doesn't remember, because, they're having their own issues, so we get a lot of their relationship, and it's kind of like it's getting a chance to really develop into a real relationship, because I feel like we didn't get as much in the original series with them, because they were mostly focused on Clary and Jace, and then I think Magnus and Alec kind of came second. And this relationship was kind of third as far as importance. But they are so cute together, and it's one of my favorite tropes. The nerdy guy who's not very cool and awkward, but he's more heroic than most of the characters. And he gets the hot, sexy girl that's supposedly out of his league. And it isn't just about his time at the school. We also, through his other people telling stories to him so they can teach him things and teach him kind of lesson type things, we get some more backstory about like some of the other characters. Like we get the whole backstory of the Circle. We get more background on that, and we learn about from when Robert Lightwood is telling them the story of the Circle and trying to explain to the students how that formed and how easily you can be manipulated because you think it's the right thing. There's a charming, persuasive person, this charismatic person can make you think that you're doing the right thing and can win your love and your worship. No matter what, no matter how confident or arrogant you are, you can still easily be fooled. And I think that was the lesson here in that story. So I kind of like how he got that. And there was some insight on Robert's reaction to Alec. Some very interesting like insight into that in his reaction, him freaking out and not being able to accept Alec for his sexual orientation as a young man that's gay, which is very heartbreaking. It's funny, it's really Isabel and her father that have the most damaged bond, and they focus on in that story when Robert Lightwood comes to the academy. It kind of it focuses on that. So Let's see, what are some of my favorite stories so far? I like that one, which is The Evil We Love. Nothing But Shadows is good. The Lost Harendelle is another good one. That's another one that talks about how self-righteous and arrogant Shadowhunters can be, and how racist they are. And judgmental too. There's so many. I don't remember what the Whitechapel theme was about. I'm trying to remember. But there's 5 more stories. Yeah, 5 more stories. I'm on the middle of Pale Kings and Princes, which I think that's where we meet Helen Blackthorn, and I think that's the one that's kind of important for us to read before Lady Midnight. That's why I want to get this read first before I get to Lady Midnight. I mean, I guess I could have read, but then I might never have read it. I might have just skipped ahead so even if I find out by the end of this that was the only story I really had to read before, it's really a good thing because I might never have read it anyway. Or, well, I guess I could have read it at the same time. Like I thought about doing with Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, because they kind of take place parallel to each other. They're the stories. But I don't know. I don't know if I can do that. Because I don't know if I would be good at that. Although I already do read several books at the same time. So that's what I'm currently reading. And that one is not exactly, although there is something pointy on it. There's Castle Turrets, the Academy's turrets, and there's... The Academy kind of looks like Hogwarts a little bit. I mean, not exactly. I mean, because there's like this part right here behind Simon, reminds you of that in Hogwarts. That bridge that they're standing on. But yeah, I mean, bow and arrows, it's pointy. And then on this turret, there's pointy stuff. So I could use it for that. But I keep coming across too many books that have something pointy on them, which is kind of funny, because I didn't think I would find anything. But, so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could use it. I don't know, though. This is another one I'm tempted to rebuy. The original Shadowhunters books. Just rebuy them in these nice new covers. Because I kind of like them. Yeah, so that the first one is Will, and then Jem, and then Tessa. Sorry, I'm looking at the backs. You know how they have the images on them. I'm trying to think. I wonder how they choose who to put on the covers. Like, I don't know, since it's about, the whole series is about Clarion, wouldn't it make sense for her to be on the cover of the first book? But they didn't do it that way, so. But anyway, this is really good. I know people have issues with Cassandra Clare in the books. I mean, they're juvenile and she's not nice to her fans all the time, but you know, I still have a good time. And I want to enjoy them. I don't want to be worrying and obsessing over, oh, I should no longer support these authors, so I need to get rid of my copies of her books. Because I still enjoy the story. I enjoy this world. It's not perfect, but I still enjoy it. And have a good time with it. Okay, so this one I'm currently reading. There are quite a few books here that I would love to bring with me to Virginia. But I don't want to bring too many because I won't get to all the books. But, like, I want to go ahead and finally start The Wheel of Time, get to the Eye of the World. I love the covers. I know they're very 80s probably, but I love the writing. I love the raised letters and the block writing. Of course, this one does not have summary in the back. But I like this. Let's see, so I have the first three, and then I have book 11, because it was the only one that the Gibbons actually had in their possession. So, glad I have that. And then I might bring Homeland with me too. And then there's also, basically all the books I showed you guys in that hall, in the charity hall. Yeah, I have all those. And then there's some Robin Hood books that I want to get to as well. And then there's Throne of Jade, which is the actual book with the dragon that I might have a better chance of getting through than Priory of the Orange Tree. Throne of Jade is the second book in the, Temeraire series. And then I also watching World Hoppers and them discussing Mistborn. Now I want to read it again. I just have this desire to read it all over again, because I remember enjoying it, and there's so much they point out to me. I feel like I'm still a baby fantasy reader, because even though I'm starting to get more into the bigger books, the thicker ones again, because I didn't read, like I said, I read Dragonlance, and then there's some thick YA, like Harry Potter and Throne of Glass and all, and, Sarah Maas's books just get thicker and thicker, and Cassandra Clare's books get thicker too. But, YA writing that is very different than adult writing than, this, for instance. It's still very different. Although, interestingly enough, the World Hoppers talked about how this book was originally was published as a YA, because the main character, although apparently, rather defensively, when Jade Bedtime Reader, I don't know what her channel is called, I have to look at it, but I remember when she said that, they were like, no, it's not. They got all mad about it, and I know fangirls are, because I have I can get on the defensive too, and they were like, no, it's not YA. Don't you know that the characters are in their 20s? And all the World Hoppers actually did not know that. Were actually surprised they didn't know that, actually, these characters, because they read, according from what they... Now, I haven't read this, so I'm just going by what they say. I haven't started yet, but they say that they read like they're teenagers. So, see, my problem is, yes, I could probably read it, because, especially since World Hopper said so, it's written very much like Brandon Sanderson, like how he writes, and hence why Robert Jordan chose him to finish the books, or his wife did, because they have similar writing style, and Brandon Sanderson is a huge fan of Robert Jordan. She was telling that he writes like him. It's just that it's a big commitment. It's still a pretty chunky book. It's a commitment here. And even with fantasy, sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to take a break and read something a little more left or not as long, But I'm still slowly trying to change that. But anyway, I've talked long enough. That is how my reading currently is going. Would love to know how your reading is currently going. Please feel free to share in the comments below. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe. And as always, I hope you guys are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Or, actually, no, scratch that, not tomorrow. I don't know when I'll make my next video. Maybe I'll make one tomorrow, I don't know. But that was a little bit of slip of a tongue, so, I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye!